WMC-TV, Memphis.
This is the NBC Television Network.
Hey everybody, I'm Bill. This is Late Night with Bill and Largo on Weird Fantastic Toy Adventures. And I'm here with my special co-host, Largo. What's happening, Largo? Your mic's muted, brother.
I was saying, another fine weekend. I'm enjoying a tasty beverage of celebrating the Guatemalan flavor of the month. This is the Gallo beer. Got to have the rooster on the label in honor of Eduardo.
There you go. Has Eduardo been
He's been pretty rambunctious today, but he seems quiet at the moment.
All right. Well, I've had a pretty crap.
But you might hear.
I hear the dog.
Oh, I was going to say you might hear. I was going to say Dulcinea's chasing the cat. I might have to go fetch her in a minute.
Yeah, I saw her on the mutt cam earlier today. Have you shown everybody the mutt cam before?
When she comes back in, I'll put her on. She usually comes and lays down while I'm doing my show.
It looks like, is she at the window or did she go out the back door on you?
She's out the back door. Matter of fact, let me go fetch her real quick while you're saying hi to everybody.
All right, I'll be right back. All right. First thing I want to do, everybody, while we got a chance, I want to thank my Patreons. These supporters keep this channel going. If you'd like to be a Patreon, there is a link down there to my Patreon page so that you can support me. I would certainly appreciate that if you did. There's also a link down there. If you don't want to do the Patreon, you can tip me on Streamlabs, and appreciate that. Any help that I can get to help this channel go. Let me pull up the live chat real quick and see who all's here and what they've been up to. We'll run all the top. Michael Purvis, Manic Plastic Toy Shop, came in very early today. And then Shaitan's Hammer came in after that. Hey, Shaitan, how's it going? And going on down, somebody drank Johnny Sorensen's whiskey, but I think it turned out to be Johnny Sorensen who drank it. Dun, dun, dun. Gojitron says, I just watched the Phantom movie with Billy Zane. All right. So you're getting prepared, I take it. Yeah. One of the better comic strip film adaptations, even with Treat Williams chewing the hell out of the scenery. And Largo's back. Hey, Largo.
Hey.
Here. Sham Bollocks. We got Bjorn Jorgensen in the house, so everybody behave. Radical Toys here. Good to see you, Adam. Shaitan's Hammer says the Billy Zane movie is enjoyable, plus a young Catherine Zeta-Jones. That's correct. The Cape Master's here. What's up, Cape Master? What's up, guys? It's been a minute since I've been here. Good to see you, Cape Master. Good to see you. Duffman's Diorama's here. I hope everything's going well with you, Duffman. I hope the search for a home is working out. Let us know. Let us know. Bjorn says, I honestly forgot about today's show. Work was tiring today. Well, I understand that. That happens all the time. Michael Purvis says he just got done hanging some more shelving. Right.
Never have enough shelves for all your stuff.
World Made of Cardboard's here. Hey, man, good to see you. Ted Darkclaw in the house. Hello, friends. Been a busy day. Glad I could make a show. Glad you could be here, Ted. World Made of Cardboard says he's just dropping by. Need to go to bed. He's exhausted. Well, that's okay. That's what restreams are all about. I like Salt in the house. How do my toy friends hanging out here to see what you're up to? No good, apparently, but we're gonna have a deep dive on the Phantom tonight. So that's what tonight's show is going to be about. So stay tuned, guys. We got a little bits and bobs, and then we're going to go into that. Big Hands Hammer says Largo's dog got my beagle's ears to perking up. How about that?
Yeah, they're being camera shy right now.
Gary's
but
is here tonight. Good evening, Gary. Good to see you, man. I'm glad you showed up, man. You got a great channel. Bjorn, put Gary's Grails up for everybody so that they can go to Gary's Grails. It's good to see you, man. Glad you showed up. Was Catherine Zeta in Zorro also? I think you're correct.
The Mask of Zorro, the newer one with Antonio Banderas. Yeah, she was in that.
Yeah, my wife liked that. I think she's enamored with Antonio Banderas for some reason.
He's a handsome devil.
Yeah, he is. Indeed, she was. Gojitron knows it all, guys, and Gojitron's going to keep us straight tonight. So we got to watch out. I think the Phantom was her first role. Talking about Catherine Zeta, it might have been. Was it Largo?
One of her first, if not the first. And then there was what was the lady's name? Swanson, the one that played Buffy in the film. She played the Phantom's sweetheart.
Yeah, Diana Palmer. Bjorn Jorgensen found a special Zorro film. Did he share that with you? He shared it with me.
He did.
Yeah, softcore porn, prawn.
Yes.
Largo, that's a good-looking mug, says Ted Darkclaw. Hey, Ocean Breeze
Thank
Salty,
you.
good to see you. Ocean Breeze Salty didn't come in last week because she went to sleep on us. Good to see you.
Long week. This was a gift from my wife when she went to Hooters in Cancun. So, cheers.
What do you do with a drunken sailor? Shave his belly with a rusty razor? Put him in the bed with the captain's wife? There's a lot of things you could do with a drunken sailor. I might show that just for her because I did recut that. Thank you, Bjorn. And Bjorn just subbed to you, Gary. So there you go. Coming in here, get you a sub every once in a while. You never know. I was singing that at work, and one of the guys says, sounds like rum was involved. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. All right. Christy Swanson.
She played Diana Palmer. That's correct.
Ocean Breeze Salt. It's been a while since I saw you. Good to see you. They know one another from another place. That's a mug of might, says Johnny Sorensen.
For a powerful thirst.
And what's Gojitron says, Bjorn, are you browsing the dirty internet again? No, no, no. It's a VHS tape. It was a VHS tape, if I'm not mistaken. No, he's browsing dirtier than that. VHS tape. It looked nasty to me, the cover and everything. So
Let's just say Zorro's blade was very active in that film.
Screamed prawn. Oh. Hey, Rolo, what's going on? Hooters in Cancun is a tourist trap, but not as bad as Hooters in Cozumel. Okay, I believe you.
That is true.
According to the interwebs, Zeta Jones made her film debut in the 90s film 1001 Nights. Okay.
Huh.
Well, that kind of goes up with the chat. So, just for OBS, I'm going to show the recut version of Drunken Sailor. I recut that today. It's a little different. You probably won't see it anywhere else but this show. So let me see if I can find it here. Where did I put that sucker?
Probably put it right next to the room.
I should have had it right up here. Did I not upload it? If I didn't upload it, I'm not going to try.
Well, let me take a look. I think it's up here.
It should have been right there where Telly Brown was.
You got a whole lot of stuff up in here in this
browser. Do. I need to cut some of that crap down. I think I didn't upload it. I thought I did after I recut it. Hey, look, tell you what, guys, I've got a sponsor for the show. So let's go ahead and play the bit for the sponsor. Big shout out for today's sponsor, Retoxin.
Do you suffer from moderate to severe well-being? If so, ask your doctor about Retoxin. Retoxin was designed to help you return to your normal state of frustration, dissatisfaction, irritability, and unhappiness. Do not take Retoxin if you have arms, legs, hands, or feet, or if you have a head, chest, or abdomen. Do not take Retoxin if you have a liver, kidneys, stomach, heart, or lungs, or if you have skin, bone, blood, bowels, or brain. Do not take Retoxin if you are between the ages of 0 and 185, as these conditions may cause adverse reaction to Retoxin. Common side effects include dizziness, headache, fatigue, nausea, upset stomach, stiff or achy joints, internal bleeding, and in some cases may result in paralysis or death. Talk to your doctor today and ask if Retoxin may be right for you. Retoxin, brought to you by the makers of Shatolify, Zombifican, Moranogen, and Lobotoman.
And if you want to know more about Retoxin, just head over to Brushstroke. He knows all about Retoxin. So that's today's sponsor. Big shout out, Retoxin.
Apparently, she's plumb tuckered out from chasing cats, so she's just hanging out.
Real quick, folks, I got some breaking news here I need to share with everybody. This is worth showing real quick. Apparently they've changed the community guidelines here at YouTube's, and I think this is worth noting. I've got it highlighted down here at the bottom, but let me go through this whole thing because I wasn't even aware that you could get your ability to live stream taken down if you don't follow these policies. If your live stream matches another copyrighted live broadcast, so in other words, if you are just basically re-streaming somebody else's live stream on your channel, that's a no-no. If your live stream features minors, so that's little children for all of you guys who don't know what that means. To better protect minors on YouTube, we don't allow children under age 13 in the live stream unless they're visibly accompanied by an adult. So that gets Joneser off the hook there. Go ahead, Largo.
Oh, I was just going to say, Dulcinea is not quite 13, so I don't know if I'm covered or not. Do I count as an adult?
Yeah, you're a
don't know.
visible adult.
Okay.
I would say. Children not in compliance with this policy may be temporarily or permanently lose their ability to live stream. Channels that have a significant number of videos with features disabled, live stream functionality may also be disabled. Check if your channel has any strikes or whether you currently have access to live streaming. Big hint, don't play anything dealing with Shogun's Assassin on your damn channel.
I don't like that.
No. If you suggest that you'll live stream content that violates our community guidelines, we may age restrict the content, remove it, or turn off your channel's ability to live stream. So don't even joke about this shit, folks. Don't even say that you're going to do this shit and then not. They'll still fuck you up. So remember that. And finally, here's the biggie one. Here's the one that they just added in this month. We don't allow live streams with someone holding, handling, or transporting a pew-pew. Channels not in compliance with YouTube's pew-pew policy will have the violative live stream removed and may permanently or temporarily lose their ability to live stream. So there you have it, folks. YouTube's is going to crack down on that. So they decided to be nice about the wordy dirt policy and kind of loosen up on that. So they had to find something to crack down on. So there were plenty of them out there, channels dedicated to firearms, firearm collecting, how to repair them, anything. So all these channels are dead. They're dead in the water. You can't even. And Largo brought up a very interesting point earlier today. Bring that up, Largo. What bothered you about that?
Well, I'm concerned next they're going to go after toy pew-pews. Like, all of my Action Force guys have very realistic looking weaponry, but obviously they're toy scale. But is that going to be next? Because Lord forbid.
Let's remember now. Remember when they decided to crack down on any pew pews whatsoever in institutions of learning, and little Johnny came to school with his GI Joe and got expelled from school, or what about little Joey who ate his Pop-Tart into just an L shape that looked kind of boom, out he went. Oh, and don't forget the little girl down in Florida who came to school with the squirt, looked like and it made bubbles come out in the end, expelled from school.
You better not even make that finger gesture. That might get you in trouble. It's silly. I think it's silly.
What kind of world
might be a gang sign?
God,
I don't know.
I got a gang sign for them right here.
You're saying they're number one? That's sweet.
Now, I'm just an old softy, ain't I? Jesus Christ!
It's like if you want a G-rated thing, they have a YouTube Kids already. So do the G-rated thing over there and leave the rest of it for the adults. I don't know why that's so hard to understand.
Yeah. I don't know. It's fucked up. It's time for a palate cleansing after all of that. I'll do a little 10-minute short before we start the Phantom. Hopefully my internet will allow me to put this up and you can watch it in its entirety. The bird flies free, not just on YouTube. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm going to put us down here at the bottom of this when I start playing this. That way we can lampoon this together and chat. Feel free to come in and Largo, if you wouldn't mind, monitor that and put some of the best up on the screen while this crazy crap plays. Here we go. For all you nasty MFers
Okay.
out there that don't bathe in shit, I've got the perfect video for you guys. This is how to be clean. Even Facebook is cracking down. I had a post of a G.I. Joe Pew Pew for sale, and Facebook removed the post. They said I was in violation.
Silly. Just
Facebook's
silly.
always been crazy. All right, here we go, folks. Let's have fun for a minute. Michael Britannia.
Class, this is John Anderson and Arlene Beal from the 8th grade. They want to choose a boy and a girl from this class to be in their assembly. All right, put your hands down. They'll have to
You got to be clean, not nasty.
Whomever John and Arlene choose, you can be sure of one thing. It won't be anyone who isn't clean and neat. That's because keeping clean and neat is something everyone is expected to do, and for a very good reason. It's important to your health, and to the health of those around you. Don may feel that he looks neat enough.
Don's a
and that he's
grease
clean
ball.
enough.
Look at his hair.
But let's go back to the start of the day and see what we can do. There you are, Don, back in bed this morning. First of all, form the habit of getting up in plenty of time.
Get your lazy
Keeping
ass out of
clean
that
and neat
park
is a
snack.
matter of forming good habits and letting them work for you. Now don't stall. If you lie in bed so long that you have to rush, how can you expect to be neat and clean?
Get your nasty ass in there and take a bath, boy.
The most important thing, of course, is a daily bath in summer. Or in winter, when you're less hot and sweaty, every other day will do. Make it a shower
Don't forget
or a
to
tub,
roll up the
whichever you
foreskin
like,
and get that
morning or night.
smegma while you're
It
at
doesn't
it.
matter, just so you keep yourself clean. Remember your ears. They need a soapy washcloth. When you wash your feet, be sure to get between your toes and the bottom of your feet.
Every time I do that, I always almost slip and fall in the damn shower.
And keep a fingernail brush handy for your nails. You're not clean if your fingernails aren't. Then rinse all the
Take that
soap
shit out
off.
from your fingernail.
Learn to make good habits work for you by following the same order every time.
Yeah, we got to be in order.
That's right. Start from the top and go down.
And here's another habit. Wash your hair on the same day each week. Say Saturday, whichever day you choose.
Oh, just wash your hair once a week, folks. You don't have to wash it every
Use
day.
a good shampoo or soap and rub in the
Always
lather with your
wash
fingers,
your ass
not
last.
your fingernails.
Yeah. But don't use shampoo.
Lather
Use
up
real
twice
poo.
with a rinse in between. And after the second lather, when your hair is perfectly clean, rinse again. Keep rinsing till every bit of soap is out. There. Feels good, doesn't it? Give yourself a good rub down with the towel until you're completely dry.
You rub that one too much, you're playing with it, boy.
Now, before you brush your hair, be sure your comb and brush are clean. Wash them the day you wash your hair. Your teeth? If you brushed them well last night, they're clean now. Brush them again after breakfast, so they'll be clean again until lunch. One more good habit. Before you leave the bathroom, see that it's neat and clean, too. Towel and washcloth hung up to dry.
Yeah,
Cap
'cause we're
back
gonna
on the
reuse
shampoo.
that,
Bathtub clean.
except for the stain.
Basin
in it.
clean. Yes, everything is put away. Now your clothes. Your underwear should be just as clean as you are. Clean socks. But look at those shoes.
Oh my
They need to
God!
be
Here,
cleaned
let's
and
do some
shined.
wizardry.
What you need is the shoe shine kit. There you are. You can make one like this yourself, you know. That's
Why should
better,
I
isn't
make
it?
one when you'll just give
Be
me
sure
one
the top
by
is
magic?
back on the polish. Now to finish dressing. Uh-oh.
Oh, look at
That's
that
no way to
shit.
treat your clothes. If they're clean enough to wear again, hang them up. Fold the trousers neatly over a hanger.
Yeah, put your dirty clothes back on the hanger and stick them back in the closet. 'Cause we wear clothes over and over and over again in the 1950s.
Put the shirts on hangers, too. Hang them up in your closet. Look at that
Closet's
closet.
great.
Before you do another thing, get
Ron,
busy and
you're a
straighten it
freaking
out.
slob. You'll play yakety sax during
Hard
this.
work, isn't it? But if you learn the habit of keeping it neat, you'll never have to go through anything like it.
That's right.
Now then, a clean shirt, and you're ready to take a look at yourself. Hair combed, face, ears, and neck
Make sure you
all
put some
clean.
Brill cream in that. The
Cup
greasy
button.
kid stuff.
Clean hands. Nails clean and trimmed. Shirt buttoned and tucked in. Belt through all the loops. Trousers buttoned or zipped.
Make sure that
Socks
gig
pulled
line
up.
is straight.
Shoes shined and shoelaces tied.
Be sure to fluff the bottom of your pants.
Not bad. Not bad at all. Quite a bit better than the way you looked in class this morning.
Yeah.
Now, how about you, Mildred? Let's see what
Mildred.
habits will help you
Mildred.
keep neat and clean. You need a weekly shampoo, too, of course. Girls have to wash their hair in the afternoon or evening, so there's time to put it up. Don't go to bed with wet hair. Putting up your hair is
all
something
out.
you have to learn, and everyone does it differently. It depends on
I
how
don't
you
know
wear
if
it.
else it's as slobby as the boy. Watch.
You may still need to get help from your mother on this. This is a good time to trim your fingernails. Make a habit
There you
of doing
go,
it the
Orange.
day you
She don't
wash your
trim her
hair.
fingernails, but she don't trim them with a trim. She
Boys
files.
like to use fingernail
Girl.
clippers, but girls can shape them better with an emery board.
She also gonna
And
get
see
the
that little
toenails,
sore place
too,
where you
the
pulled
big
away the
nasty
skin?
Toenails.
Next time, ask your mother to cut it, and you won't have a sore place like that. Don't forget your toenails. After a bath is a good time to cut them, because they're softer then. Cut them straight across, and not rounded like fingernails.
Otherwise, you'll have ingrown toenails.
Oh, Mildred, look at your clothes. Why, that's as bad as Don was.
Slob.
Things that are dirty should go into the laundry. Things
Girls
that
are
are
just
clean
as
enough to
sloppy
wear
as
again
boys.
should be folded and put away. Make sure there are no wrinkles in it when you fold it. And
If
that
they're
dresser
all-
drawer. You'd better straighten it out this very minute. There. If you learn the habit of keeping it neat, you'll never have to go through anything like this. And now that your room is neat and you're clean, isn't it nice to climb into bed?
Did you dry your hair first?
In the morning, give yourself plenty of time. You can't rush and be neat. Be sure your underthings are clean.
Blue softcore
Your
porn.
shoes should go on over clean socks. And take a look at your shoes. Are they as neat as they should
They
be?
look a little dirty to me.
Before you put on your dress, it's a good idea to brush your hair. Be sure you've washed your brush. Don't put a dirty brush on clean hair. Brush and brush and brush. At least 100 strokes.
Oh my God. All right, there's a girl in here. Is it true you got to brush your hair 100
There.
times?
Look how it shines. You did get all the soap out last night, didn't you?
That's shiny because it's grease.
And now, what dress to wear? Your dress has to be suited to the occasion. No, that's a lovely party dress, but it's too dressy for school. That's more like it. But would another color look better? As you watch colors,
This isn't in
you will
color. How
learn
do we
what
know what color
combinations
it
look
is?
best on you.
I know they didn't have color back
And now,
then.
how do you look? You can see what a big difference a little extra care can make in your appearance. Good appearance helps you get along with others. But much more important, keeping clean and neat is something we expect of everyone as a health measure, for ourselves and for our community. It's simply a matter of learning good habits and letting them work for you. Don't you think you can do it?
The end. At least 3, maybe. I don't remember. Was it 3 outfits she put on? She put the party dress on. Then she put the first outfit that was the wrong color, but we didn't know what color it was. And then the third outfit, and then that doesn't count her running around in her slip. So that's how to be neat and clean, folks. Remember, wash your hair at least once a week. Wash your ass every day. Use soap and a washcloth, and you'll be all right. Clean your fingernails, all that bullshit. Do you think they'll send this clip to everyone who signs up for the conventions? That's a good question, because there's some nasty people that go to conventions. I've run across them. I see what you did there, Johnny. Tiger Brush Bjorn is an excellent name for an action figure. We all have freaky tropical fish hair people now with metal and tats in their face. Tiger Brush Bjorn is my luchador name. All right. Maybe you can get Rolo to get you a luchador mask, tiger mask to go along with that. That would be kind of cool. Let me pull up the show notes. Well, that brings us to today's highlight, the Phantom. You're muted there, Largo.
Yep, I guess I didn't figure folks would want to hear the dogs yapping in the background, but we are striving to be informative here. There they go.
Yes, dogs barking. It's dogs tonight instead of Eduardo.
Eduardo's behaving himself, but my dogs are acting up.
They are. All right, folks, let's get started. We're going to learn all about the Ghost Who Walks. You'll just have to see that movie, Bjorn. It's worth watching, and Lee Falk was highly involved in making that movie as well. It was one of his baby projects there towards the end of his life. I don't know if he enjoyed it very much at all, but I enjoyed it for what it was. It had its moments, but there was some issues with it. We'll talk about that in just a minute. I'll let you move the slides, and we'll just talk there, Largo.
Alrighty. Well, let's talk about Mr. Falk because he's an interesting fella. Leon Lee Falk is the creator of two of the most successful and longest running action adventure strips in the history of comic art, Mandrake the Magician and The Phantom. He began his career that resulted in the creation of these two classic fantasy comics as a 19-year-old college student. Mr. Falk worked on The Phantom for 63 years of his life until his death in 1999. He was very committed.
And speaking of Mandrake the Magician, we'll have to go into him one of these days, too, because he's a fascinating character.
Indeed. We'll take a look at him right now for a moment.
All right.
Because that's where it all started.
1934, Mandrake. Falk arrived unannounced at the offices of William Randolph Hearst King Features Syndicate in New York City in 1934. He had with him a comic strip dramatization of a hypnotist who used his powers to right wrongs by combating criminals and enemies of his country. Falk's mysterious magician was immediately a worldwide sensation. Mandrake always uses his legendary powers of hypnotism and illusion to combat crime, has worked his debonair magic to find a place in the hearts of comic strip buffs everywhere.
He's quite the dapper Dan, isn't he?
He's what I always think of when I think of a magician. A little pencil mustache. He's got the magician's top hat on. He's got a cape with a red lining in it, wearing a beautiful tuxedo. And there he is doing some dove magic there in the corner. Just absolutely the trope of a magician, if you will. The only other magician that I know of that would hold a candle to Mandrake would be Zatara.
Mm-hmm. So, following that up in 1936, we get our favorite fella in purple. Just 2 years later, Falk developed still another blockbuster, The Phantom, made its debut in newspaper comic pages on February 17th of 1936. Falk combined his love of epic poetry, fairy tales, and stories of chivalry to create the riveting, myth-freighted legend of the first costumed superhero, the Phantom, also known as the Ghost Who Walks, the Man Who Cannot Die, and the Guardian of the Eastern Dark.
Absolutely. All right. The Phantom is created as being the first costume superhero, as in the first crime fighter to wear a skin-tight costume attributed to comic book superheroes, and being the first hero to have white eyes behind his mask, a phenomenon very common with superheroes.
Mm-hmm. And for those who came in late, now that's kind of an inside joke for Phantom fans, because often in the comic strip, when they would reprise his origin, they would make that note of, for those who came in late, here's the story.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what we should have titled tonight's show, for those who came in late.
Well, everybody comes in late. It's a late show.
Exactly. The legend of the Phantom begins in 1536. Christopher Jr. was a sailor on his father's ship, of which Christopher Sr. was the captain. In 1536, Christopher was 20 years old. He was part of what was supposed to be his father's last voyage. On September the 17th, the ship was attacked by the pirates of the Singh Brotherhood in a bay off the coast of Bengala. The last thing Christopher saw before he fell into the sea was his father being murdered by a pirate. Both ships exploded, making Christopher the sole survivor of the attack.
The captain's son, Christopher Kit Walker, washed ashore on the beach of an exotic land, Bengala. He was found by the Bandar people, and they took him in and healed him and raised him as one of their own. One fateful day, the young walker stumbled upon the corpse of his father's killer. On the skull of the dreaded Kabai Singh, he swore an oath. Thus began the sacred Walker family tradition passed down through the centuries. And here is the oath.
I swear to devote my life to the destruction of all forms of piracy, cruelty, and greed, and my sons and my sons' sons will follow me.
The exact wording has changed over the centuries, but the gist of it's the same.
The oath of the skull. He took this oath on the skull of his father's killer to devote his life. And the destruction of piracy is right up there at the top. And we'll get into that in some of the modern day Phantom stories later on as we go into this deep dive.
Mm-hmm. After learning the language of the Bandar tribe, Christopher found out that they were slaves of the Wasaka tribe, a tribe consisting of what the Bandars called giants, because they were pygmies. The Bandars who had found him was only a small group of people who had managed to escape from the village of the Wasaka. Immediately, Christopher walked into the village of the Wasaka and asked them to set the Bandars free. Instead of achieving this goal, he was taken prisoner and laid before the demon god of the Wasaka, who was supposed to decide his destiny. Christopher was tied up and laid upon the altar made of stone, where vultures surrounded him, the Wasaka allowing them to eat him.
Ugh.
Yuck.
All right. Christopher was quickly saved by a group of Bandars before the vultures or the Wasaka could do him any real harm. They managed to escape from the village of the Wasaka unharmed. Christopher learned about an ancient Bandar legend about a man coming from the ocean to save them from their slavery. He made a costume inspired by the look of the demon god of the Wasaka and went to the Wasaka village again, this time with a small army of Bandars, armed with their newly discovered and extremely poisonous arrows, capable of killing a man in only a few seconds.
The Wasaka, shocked at seeing what many of them thought was their demon god come alive, were fought down, and the Bandars were finally set free after centuries in slavery. This resulted in a dedicated friendship between Christopher and the Bandars, which would be brought on to the generations to come after them. Wearing the costume based on the demon god, Christopher became the first of what would later be known as the Phantom. When he died, his son took over for him. And when the second Phantom died, his son took over. And so it would go on through the centuries, causing people to believe that the Phantom was immortal, giving him nicknames like the Ghost Who Walks and the Man Who Cannot Die.
The Skull Cave. This is pretty much the headquarters of the Phantom and his home. The Bandar showed Christopher to a cave, which resembled the look of a human skull. And Christopher himself later carved it out to make it look even more like a skull. And what was later known as Skull Cave then became his home.
Mm-hmm. The Major Treasure Room. One of the oldest components of the Skull Cave is the Major Treasure Room, housing priceless relics collected by various phantoms throughout history. Many of the items have been the basis of stories and legend, yet only a handful have been clearly identified. These include, but are not limited to, the lyre of blind poet Homer, used when composing the Iliad and the Odyssey, the great ring of Nebuchadnezzar, the necklace of Nefertiti, the crown of the great black emperor Jumkar, and Diana's wedding ring, given to her by the Phantom at their wedding, carved from a single diamond originally made for the bride of Emperor Augustus.
Cleopatra's wedding ring, the diamond drinking cup of Alexander the Great, King Arthur's sword, Excalibur, Charlemagne's crown, Roland's horn, and his sword, Durendal. The arms of the Venus de Milo, Leonardo da Vinci's first sketch of the Mona Lisa, the pen used by Shakespeare to write Romeo and Juliet, and the original manuscript of Shakespeare's Hamlet.
Falk was a big fan of epic poetry and literature, so basically the treasure room became a catch-all of anything that he thought was kind of funny or interesting from history. The Phantom probably had it in his cave. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And before we get into Phantom's Domain, there are a few other rooms there in the cave that we've kind of skipped over, but I do want to cover one before I go into the domain here, and that would be the Chronicles room. In the Chronicles room are bound volumes, leather volumes, pretty much the diaries of all of the Phantoms that ever existed. So they every adventure that they went on was written down in detail in these volumes, so that the future Phantoms could go back and read and know the history and know everything about every other Phantom that existed before them, so that they could take up the mantle and be that person, at least outwardly to the others. And
yeah, allowed them to have the same memory as the previous Phantom, which kept the illusion alive that it was one immortal person.
Absolutely. And then, of course, the Phantom's Domain in the Kingdom of Bengala. And we can see here, and I'm going to blow this picture up for myself so that I can read it a little better. We have Mawatan, which is the main capital of Bengala. We have the Golden Beach of Kilauea, which is truly a golden beach. We have the Deep Woods, where the Phantom Cave is located, and also the Treehouse, which is also there, that he and Diana built to live in. The Whispering Grove, where it sounds like whispering as the wind blows through the trees there. You have the Misty Mountains up there. And you also have the Phantom Head carving. If I'm not mistaken, it said that the winds made that carving look like the Phantom's head, but I don't know if that's been changed over the years to just maybe the Phantom did that himself, and that's kind of the legend that grew out of that. I don't know, but the Phantom Head peak there looks like the Phantom's head there, and then there's the Island of Eden, which we'll go into in a minute, but that's a special place, a very, very special place. His base is in the deep woods of Bengala, fictional country initially said to be set in Asia near India. Yeah, the original adventures had a more Eastern flavor to them, more India like flavor, but I think it was later moved to Africa after the 1960s. The Phantom's base is in the fabled Skull Cave, where all of the previous Phantoms are buried. There is a vault room in there where they're all buried in a vault.
Right. And this is obviously well before the Bat Cave, which was
Yes.
directly inspired by the Phantom's Cave. A man who cannot die. Natives of the Bengali jungle, thinking that all the Phantoms are the same as the first, say he is immortal and a man who cannot die. Unlike many costumed heroes, he has no superhuman powers and relies on his wits, his fists, and his feared legend to fight crime.
That's correct. Although he does have some equipment there. We'll get into that in just a minute.
We will. But first, I want to know, why purple?
Creator Lee Falk had originally envisioned a gray costume, and I knew this. Even considered naming his creation the Gray Ghost before settling on the Phantom. The costume was shown to be purple, something that apparently was a printing mistake, and Lee Falk himself did not approve beforehand. Falk wanted the costume to be gray, but the colorist, while coloring the strip, decided to go into business for himself. He decided that it would look better if it were purple. Although it was never corrected, Falk continued to refer to the costume as gray in the text of the strip on several occasions after this, probably because those strips had already been written and done. But finally, he accepted the purple costume. And in a retcon, it was also shown that the first Phantom chose the costume based upon the appearance of that jungle idol, that god, and colored the cloth with purple jungle berry juice.
But he didn't just wear purple.
No.
He wore a costume of many colors. Publishers that printed color comics with the Phantom before 1939 chose costume colors based on their own preference. Various publishers throughout the world picked different color costumes. Blue in Scandinavia, and this was because originally they didn't have the ability to do the purple color in their print. In Italy, Turkey, and Brazil, he was red, and he was brown in New Zealand. And I believe I've even seen him in a gray costume now and then.
Yeah. And but Scandinavia is where he's the most popular in the whole world, if I'm not mistaken. And that costume that you see him wearing there with the blue and the red striped trunks, that is the costume that you will see him in Phantomet Land wearing, and all of that. So and yes, there is a theme park. I think it's in Sweden, if I'm not mistaken, called Phantomet Land. Phantomet is what his name is over there.
Yeah, he's definitely an international hero. He's very popular in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, and he goes by many different names.
And just wait, there's some coolness to that coming up here in a minute.
Indeed. Loki decided to join us. Hey, Loki.
Hey, Loki. Good dog.
Who's a good boy?
Oh, who's a good dog? He's smiling.
He's having too much fun.
Absolutely. All right. The
so
evil.
I was going to say two of his most famous pieces of equipment are the jewelry that he wears on each hand.
Rings. Yeah, he's got one ring that's a skull and one ring that's four blades, kind of in a cross. We'll go into that. The evil mark, or the skull mark, is worn on the Phantom's right hand and leaves an indelible mark upon evildoers unfortunate enough to receive a punch from the ghost who walks, usually right there on the chin.
Mm-hmm.
The skull ring was given to the first Phantom by the alchemist Paracelsus. Is that correct?
Paracelsus.
Paracelsus, thank you. The original owner of the skull ring was the Emperor Nero of the Roman Empire. It would later be revealed that the ring had been made from the nails that had hung our Savior Jesus to the cross. Ooh.
Yeah, and that was something that was added in the Scandinavian legend. So as in other cultures, he's become a very popular folk hero. They've added on to the lore beyond what Lee Falk originally created.
Okay.
The good mark, a second ring worn by the Phantom on the left hand, because the left is closest to the heart, stamps friends of the ghost who walks with his enduring protection from evil. The good mark ring was made after the sixth Phantom founded the Jungle Patrol, which we'll talk about in a minute.
And if you look at that, that's supposed to be sabers, 4 sabers. Mm-hmm. But to me, they always look like peas. P for Phantom.
Yeah, it works either way.
And it was a stamp. He would stamp that on the hand of his friends, so that they would be forever marked as a friend of the Phantom. And if the Jungle Patrol ever saw someone with the Phantom's mark, they gave him all due courtesy that a Phantom's friend would get. And that mark was indelible, but it was not like the skull mark where you had to punch it into their face and leave that a scar there. It was just some kind of indelible ink that was involved in it, I think.
There might have been some alchemy involved. I mean, there is some rumors that the rings were mystical, but
yeah, okay,
we don't know for sure. The Phantom that most of us know from the comic strips and the comic books is Kit Walker, the 21st Phantom. His birth name, of course, is Kit Walker, as was the name of many of the Phantoms before him. Kit was born in the Skull Cave and spent his first years in the jungle of Bengala. One of Kit's first missions as a Phantom was to find his father's killer, Rama Singh, who had betrayed and murdered the 20th Phantom, by first helping him to blow up a fleet of ships owned by the Singh Brotherhood, only to then stab him in the back, stealing his special gun belt in the process. The 21st Phantom eventually found him and reclaimed the belt at the island of Gilyuk, I believe. But before he could avenge his father and bring his killer to jail, the desperate Rama blew up his lair, killing himself and his henchmen in the process. And that was one of the most popular of the Phantom stories, is the story of the belt.
That was the first thing that the 21st Phantom had to do, supposedly, was go and get his father's belt back. Family and friends. From 1962 on, the Phantom has raised an orphan named Rex King, who was later revealed to be the prince of the kingdom of Baron Khan. In 1978, he married his sweetheart, Diana Palmer, who works at the United Nations. The Phantom and Diana have had 2 children, Kit and Eloise. His chief aide is his ally Gurin, the chief of the local Pygmy Bandar tribe, who are the only tribe to know the Phantom's true nature. Gurin is the Phantom's best friend since childhood and a supporter of his cause. Other allies of the 21st Phantom include Dr. Axel, a Scandinavian doctor working in Bengala, and Miss Tagama, the African teacher of Rex and Kit and Eloise. And let me bring up something real quick, because I think we kind of forgot this little guy, and I find him to be worthy of talking about real quick, and that would be Old Man Maz. He is the wise old man, and he's part of the Pygmy tribe of the Bandar, and possesses the wealth and knowledge about the jungle and of the Phantom's history. Whenever the Phantom has some questions about his history, he generally goes to Old Man Maz for advice. Let me move myself real quick out of your way there, Largo, so you can be seen if you want to stay on camera.
All right.
Anyway, back to Old Man Maz. That's him right there. He's always depicted as wearing that conical hat there, and he's got glasses, and he carries this staff that always looked to me like it was some kind of a giant spoon. Yeah, and let me.
So he was kind of like the Phantom's Alfred. He wasn't quite his butler, but he was kind of like his lore keeper, and kind of helped keep the cave in check.
He knew the utmost detail history of the Phantom. He could tell the Phantom, what he needed to know about previous Phantoms and some of the things that happened in those days. And like I said, I find him to be a very integral part of the Phantom's story. So I'll cover him real quick before we move on. Get us back to where we were. There we go. So I just read
now
that
his
one,
role
so
in the right. His role in the film was pretty much covered by the ghost of the 20th Phantom. For some reason, they chose to have Kit be able to talk to the ghost of his father, which, why not?
Okay.
And, of course, the Phantom had many animal companions. The 2 most famous of those, his 2 animal helpers, the mountain wolf named Devil and a horse named Hero. He also had a trained falcon named Fraka. And he had 2 dolphins named Solomon and Nefertiti, and numerous other animals he kept on the Isle of Eden.
Absolutely. And I forget, do we have a slide covering that isle altogether, or do we not?
We do not.
Well, the Isle of Eden is very special because on that island, all the animals live there in peace. Even the carnivores live in peace with the herbivores. So all these animals that are friends of the Phantom live on this island in peace. That's why it's called the Isle of Eden.
Where the lion lays down with the lamb.
Absolutely. Phantom carries a pair of M1911 45 caliber pistols, just like the Shadow, in a special belt with a skull-like buckle. Falk has insisted that the Phantom only used his guns to shoot out the guns of his opponents. However, there are some early instances in the Lee Falk strips of the Phantom using his guns to shoot and kill people, sometimes in self-defense.
And of course, as other artists have taken over the story, he's kind of been a little bit more lax on his non-killing
Yeah.
rules.
Well, that it's kind of rather Lone Rangerous to shoot the gun out of the man's hand. That I can suspend my disbelief, seeing as how this is a fantasy character, but we all know that no matter how good of a marksman you are, it's always center mass that you aim for.
Indeed. One of the most popular pieces of the Phantom's lore that didn't really make much of a splash in the movie was his Jungle Patrol. The Phantom is also the unknown commander of Bengala's world-famous Jungle Patrol. The 6th Phantom originally formed the Jungle Patrol with the help of a former pirate named Redbeard and his men back in 1664. But due to a betrayal leading to the death of the 14th Phantom, the identity of the commander has been kept hidden from members of the patrol ever since. The Phantom uses several ways to stay in contact with the Jungle Patrol, including drums, radio, and a safe with a false bottom.
Absolutely. And the radio is the one that I remember the most. It's kind of like the bat phone for the Phantom. Only the Phantom knows the secret frequency in which to contact the Jungle Patrol, and when they hear from him, they know on that frequency they know it's their commander talking to them. And
Right.
the safe with a false bottom is where he would leave notes.
Mm-hmm. And the drums were kind of used back and forth. Mostly the Jungle Patrol and some of the natives who lived in the land would use drums to communicate signals, hoping the Phantom would come to their aid.
Absolutely.
And then Mr. Walker. As indicated by the Phantom's creator, Lee Falk, there are times when the Phantom leaves his jungle home and travels as an ordinary man. When he does, he wears a fedora, a trench coat, and sunglasses, and is known as Mr. Walker. You see there he's got Devil on a leash hanging out in civilized country.
That looks like Mawatan there in the background. Mawatan is a modern city there in Bengala, and it's ruled by a king, if I'm not mistaken, for the United Nations. And Diana Palmer frequently has to visit there and on her duties as a aide to the United Nations.
Right. There have been a few stories where the Phantom shows up in New York City and other big cities, and occasionally, mixes it up with some other pulp heroes there, here and there.
Well, he operates worldwide. I don't know if we're going to have a chance to get into this, but I will say this: some of the Phantoms have operated in the United States. There was one who had a base in the Old West and a Mesa. So there's a lot to that. Here's the Singh Brotherhood, though. These are the most dangerous and lasting enemies of the Phantom, the Singh Brotherhood. Active for centuries and responsible for inadvertently originating the Phantom himself, as well as the death of many Phantoms over the centuries. The Brotherhood have existed in many incarnations throughout the centuries. As of today, they exist as a worldwide organization of modern-day piracy, smugglers, thieves, and hitmen. In the 1970s, Falkhood, or the Sang Brotherhood, because Singh is a common name in India, and Falk wished to avoid offending Indian readers by implying that the organization originated in that country.
There are a few other recurring villains. The other criminal organization that the Phantom repeatedly clashes with is the Sky Band, a group of all-female air
Mhm.
Frequent antagonists of successive phantoms are the depraved inhabitants of the Eastern Dark region, also known as DAC, who carry out human sacrifice and drug trafficking. The Phantom's repeated role in thwarting the activities of the DAC people is the source of his Guardian of the Eastern Dark title.
Mm. Very interesting. It sounds like those people that Indiana Jones was fighting in Indiana Jones too.
Yep. In the later years of Falk's writing, he got very interested in exploring the idea of this land based villainry to kind of balance the Sing Brotherhood that were more sea based, so
Right.
that the Phantom was fighting on land and sea.
And the series began with a newspaper strip on February the 17th, 1936, followed by a color Sunday strip on May 28th, 1939. Both are still running as of today in 2023.
That's pretty amazing. This strip is still available in certain newspapers, and who else can say that? I mean, a lot of people don't really know much about the Phantom. They kind of know he exists, but he's been in publication longer than pretty much any other hero.
Well, there's a comic company called Fru in Scandinavia that has produced a Phantom comic nonstop all the way up to today from the original days of the Phantom. And the Phantom comic strip that is running today mines their storylines from the Fru comics.
Mm-hmm. Still very popular. But eventually he made it to the silver screen. A live action serial entitled The Phantom was released in 1943, starring Tom Tyler. As the alter ego of Kit Walker had not yet been introduced in the comic strip, the serial uses the moniker Jeffrey Prescott. Some
Mhm.
people may recognize Mr. Tyler. He was an actor, an American actor, known for his leading roles in low budget Western films and in the silent and sound eras, and most famously for his portrayal of the superhero Captain Marvel in the 1941 serial film, The Adventures of Captain Marvel, which I recommend. It's pretty cool.
Very good serial. And if you don't know who Captain Marvel is, it is not the character in Marvel Comics. It is the character that originated in Fawcett Comics, later bought out by DC Comics, known today as Shazam.
Right. But in 41, he was Captain Marvel.
And to me, he's still Captain Marvel to this very day. In the 1940s and 50s, the Phantom has been published by a number of publishers in the United States. During the 1940s, the strips were reprinted in Ace Comics, so the comic strips were reprinted in this comic book.
Mm-hmm.
Harvey Comics, better known for doing Casper the Friendly Ghost and Richie Rich, published Phantom Comics in the 1950s.
Yeah. Another interesting tidbit here that I was found when I was doing the lore: the Phantom has appeared in many war shields in Papua New Guinea. During World War II, soldiers received care packages containing comics. The soldiers stationed in Papua New Guinea shared these comics with the locals, and the Phantom became extremely popular among the tribes. The character's image is often painted on ceremonial shields or alongside other tribal art, and this is sometimes referred to as tribal pop art.
That's amazing. So these people in Papua New Guinea actually are so enamored of the Phantom that they actually decorate their war shields with pictures of the Phantom. And I bet that those shields go for a good bit of money to
Oh, yeah.
collectors.
They're very highly sought over by collectors. And another interesting part to this was they took this very seriously. This wasn't just graffiti, it was the idea that they wanted to summon the strength and nobility of the Phantom. So they would put his image on their shields, hoping that they would have some of the Phantom's power.
Yeah,
So,
that's pretty wild, man. Pretty wild. And then in the 60s and the 70s, this series of Phantom comics were originally released by Gold Key in 1962. issues number 1 to 17. Now, these were the ones that were pretty damn good, and they had really, really beautiful artwork on the covers. But was taken over by King Comics in 1966, issue numbers 18 through 28. And I've seen some of the King comics. They're not bad. They're not the best. But that was when King Features decided that they were going to be able to run the show better than anybody else. They found out different. And this was also taken over by Carlton Comics in 1969 for issues 30 through 74. This series is the longest running American comic book series dedicated to the Phantom, with the last issue ending at number 74 in January of 1977. And I've seen some of these Carlton comics, and they're not bad at all. Not bad at all.
Issue 29 is a Phantom. It literally doesn't exist. When Carlton took over, they decided to start with issue number 30. They skipped 29 for some reason. So there was never an issue 29.
I bet collectors all over the world are looking for this non-existent issue number 29 too.
Indeed. It's probably an urban legend now.
It's probably in the Phantom's major treasure room.
Everything else is, so I wouldn't be surprised. Where I first learned about the Phantom was in these books by Avon. The story of the Phantom was published by Avon Publications in the USA, and the first book was published in 1972. With the last book released in 1975 and a total of 15 issues released. Containing 140 to 180 pages, these softcover paperback novels are not comic books, but contain fictional stories of the Phantom. The first 5 were written by Phantom creator Lee Falk himself, with the remainder of the stories by Ron Gouillart, using the pseudonym name of Frank S. Shawn. Great cover art, good stories. I found these in a used paperback shop, and I was really hooked. They're really good stories, and that's kind of what got me into looking into the Phantom in the first place.
Yeah, pretty neat. Pretty neat. I never read any of these books, but I knew about them. And now we're getting to this is interesting right here. In the mid-70s, the Phantom showed up in a few team-ups at DC Comics. The Super Team Family was a comic book anthology series published from 1975 to 1978, and it included a mix of original and reprinted stories. And you see there Tarzan and the Phantom, and then over here you see the Phantom and the Shadow.
Yeah, these are kind of peculiarities. They're kind of rare. There weren't many printed, and to my knowledge, these were the only team-ups that DC did with the Phantom during those years.
Now, I haven't read these comics, folks. Don't get your hopes up. They were an anthology series. It was kind of like what not Brave and Bold, but the Superman Batman book.
The World's Finest.
Yeah.
There was also one called the Superman Family. There was the Batman Family. And a lot of those were reprints with a few extra new stories thrown in. This was the same kind of thing.
Well, when World's Finest first came out, it was one Superman story and one Batman story. They didn't start really actually teaming up until much, much later. So I wouldn't buy the Tarzan Phantom book or the Phantom Shadow book thinking that the Phantom is going to have a team up story in there where he teams up with Tarzan or the Shadow. It's probably a Shadow story and a Phantom story, or a couple of Phantom stories and a couple of Tarzan stories, probably reprints, I would say. But you never know. I mean, I might, if I find these in a quarter bin somewhere, you damn sure better be Skippy that I'm going to pick them up.
It's a cool cover nonetheless.
Absolutely.
DC did officially start doing the Phantom in 1988, and they started with a miniseries, which was very well done. I think Peter David might have been the writer on that.
It was.
And after that, they did a second series of 13 issues from 89 to 90, where the Phantom fought racism, toxic dumping, hunger, and modern-day piracy. The series ended because of licensing issues and falling sales. But in the final panels of issue 13, the Phantom finally gets around to marrying Diana.
Now, what's interesting about this comic series, while you got the Avon books, and that was really your introduction to the Phantom, while I knew who the Phantom was, and I had read the comic strip occasionally because it was run in our local newspaper here, I really didn't get into the Phantom until I read that first miniseries done by DC Comics, which basically covered everything that you needed to cover in a very nice story about the Phantom. And
Excuse me, I'm gonna have to run for a second. I'll be right back.
go ahead, I'll keep up. I'll keep up. So next we but anyway, yeah, that was a great series. I wasn't as pleased there with the mini series as I was with the ongoing series as I was with that mini series. But in 1986, there was the animated series called The Defenders of the Earth, which was a team up between the Phantom and Mandrake and Flash Gordon. The Phantom was voiced by Peter Mark Richmond and is essentially identical to Lee Falk's character, but differing from the original in that he chanted this saying, "By the jungle law, the ghost who walks calls forth the power of 10 tigers," and he would momentarily receive superhuman strength. His real name was Kit Walker, and his horse Hero and Wolf Devil make brief appearances, and the end credits describe this Phantom as saying that he is the 27th Phantom. So this is a future Phantom that was depicted in this cartoon. And I watched this cartoon a couple of times. I might have watched the first, maybe the second episode of it. I didn't like it very much. It was okay. I never liked the figure line that came out. The toys that came out of it didn't hit the spot for me either. What about you there, Largo?
The toys weren't great, but I liked the concept of having the team up. I hated the kids. They were so annoying.
Oh, well, they don't always have to do that in these cartoon shows, especially back in those days.
Yeah, they did like their sidekicks, but fortunately, it kind of got revisited later, and we'll touch on that. But
the depiction of Lothar was a little bit updated, I would say.
True. And, the idea of the legacy of having the kids in there wasn't a bad idea. It's just the way they voiced them, the way they had them, they were just twerps. They just didn't really add anything. They just kind of like how some people see the Wonder Twins in Super Friends. They were just kind of like, really, do we need this? It's like, no, it's a way to make the characters more relatable.
I would say more like Wendy and Marvin than the Wonder Twins, personally. But
that's fair.
Mileage may vary.
Indeed. So Marvel Comics got in on the action about this time. You just can't stay still, can you?
Ha ha, poor puppy.
In 1987, Marvel Comics published a 4-issue miniseries written by Stan Lee and based on the Defenders of the Earth TV series. Technically, this was under their Star label, but it was Marvel.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Another 3-issue Marvel miniseries, The Phantom, The Ghost Who Walks, came out in February through April of 95, which was written and drawn by David DeVries and Glenn Lumsden. Gesundheit. Mm-hmm. It featured the 22nd Phantom with an updated and high-tech costume. And they kind of tried to make him a kind of a knockoff Punisher. Mm-hmm. He's very Punisher-esque and red eyes, and it wasn't very good, to be honest.
I remember this comic. I think the thing that stuck out the most was instead of having white blanks for eyes, he had red blanks for eyes. And as you mentioned before, this is our Phantom, the 21st Phantom's son, which, if you remember, was a twin. He had it was Kit and Eloise was the two children. So this is his son,
right? And it was. I didn't like it, to be honest. The art was good, but the stories were kind of
he was a little violent. He was a little violent in this one.
Oh yeah, but it gets better. Some people like this, some people hate it. I thought it was pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. The animated series Phantom 2040 ran for 2 series between 1994 and 1996. Set in the year 2040, all environmental disasters and economic resource wars from the early 21st century have decimated the fragile ecosystem and balance of Earth, once teeming with life. Everywhere, the privileged and wealthy continue to thrive in expensive real estate developments that tower above the suffering masses. The victims of Earth's misfortune have been forced to subsist on scavenged refuse from the past on the mangled streets of the forlorn city-states. The only hope for survival of humanity is the ghost jungle. Thousands of square miles of mutated vegetation that may be the planet's salvation. This secret source of life is submerged beneath Metropia, unseen by most. College student Kit Walker Jr. is chosen by fate to save the world, donning the black mask and purple suit of his people's savior, the 24th Phantom. I do remember this, and at one time I ran a little web page devoted to the Phantom, and I had a little small soundbite clip of the Phantom's oath that was spoken during the opening of this cartoon show, which was very, very good. I mean, it was very good. The show itself, it was okay in my opinion. It wasn't my cup of tea. But as far as animation goes, it was top notch. As far as being faithful to what Lee Falk had, it really was.
Mm-hmm. It was kind of a post-apocalyptic Mad Max kind of story. It was interesting. They tried throwing in some new elements, putting him in the future. I thought it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And to go along with that, Marvel later released a 4-part miniseries in 1995, penciled by Steve Ditko from Spider-Man fame. And this was based on the TV series. One issue featured a pinup by the 2 original Spider-Man signature artists, Ditko and John Romita Sr.
Wow. To be honest with you, I was not aware of these comics until we started researching this. They look like something that might be worth looking at. I may don an eye patch and go hunting on the high seas. I hope the Phantom doesn't come and get me for doing that. But I think I might try to get these.
I'm sure they're out there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. And then the live action film, the Billy Zane film that everybody was talking about in the chat earlier today, and that Gojitron went and watched right before we started this. Released in 1996 with Billy Zane, of course, featuring. Despite financial failure in its theatrical release, the film has enjoyed success on VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray, and has developed a cult following. The film's screenplay is by Jeffrey Boam and is loosely inspired by 3 of the Phantom's stories: the Sing Brotherhood, the Sky Band, and the Belt. And if you remember, each of these were featured in that storyline. I think that was directly Lee Falk's doing. Lee Falk was highly involved with this film. It was his baby. If every chance he got a time to talk about this upcoming film, he would. As a matter of fact, we were talking about that DC Comics series earlier. In that mini series, there was a section in the middle where Lee Falk wrote two pages about the Phantom himself, and he also mentioned that movie and how he wanted it to be very, very faithful. And
right. He was very excited for the film. It was towards the twilight of his life, and he had always wanted to see a really well done Hollywood version of the Phantom. So he was highly involved in the process.
Yeah. The only thing, though, they added a few supernatural elements to it, and like you mentioned earlier, he consults the ghost of his father instead of going to Old Man Maz or looking through the chronicles. and there were new characters were also involved in that. And a lot of people were concerned about Catherine Zeta-Jones being in that, leading the Girl Sky, the Sky Pirates or Sky Band, the lady air women. They were actually in a comic strip, folks. So that, I mean, all of this was part of the storyline. So they didn't deviate too far. Now, one thing that I did have one little tiny little gripe about the costume, sue me, but he didn't have his little stripedy drawers on the outside of his suit.
That's true. He kept his drawers on the inside.
Now let's understand why superheroes wore their underwear on the outside of their costumes. That wasn't underwear; they were trunks. Superhero costumes were based upon two things: either a strongman costume from the circus, which always featured tights, and if you didn't wear a pair of trunks on the outside of your tights, everybody would be looking at your junk. So you had to
Let's
wear.
just say you needed a athletic supporter.
Let's just say. And the other thing that people were always concerned about or thinking that superheroes were wearing were union suits. And if you don't know what a union suit is, it's a one-piece pair of thermal underwear that to go to the bathroom, you had a flap in the back that you unbuttoned to go to the bathroom, and that flap tended to flap open all the time. So you had to wear a pair of trunks on the outside of that to cover that flap up.
Indeed. So it was a modesty thing, but it was also a way for artists to kind of break up the
and I think that Superman and Batman need to go back to wearing their drawers on the outside.
Well, I think in some of the modern iterations, at least Superman has gone back to that.
Well, they found out that he really needed to break his costume up.
Yep. Commencing in February of 2002, Moonstone produced a series of standalone graphic novels. Each book ran for about 52 pages with high-quality glossy paper and vibrant colors. The beautiful painted art covers by Joel Napperstruck, were reminiscent of George Wilson's classic covers for Gold Key and Avon. The last book in this format was published in 2004. And they had some really great cover art on these.
And these books are highly sought after, and they real pricey, folks. If you want to buy these in their natural form, I'm sure that you can ride in a boat and find some of them, but I'm not advocating that at all.
Right. To find these in mint condition, the originals will go upwards of $100 in some markets.
Absolutely. In 2003, Moonstone introduced a Phantom comic book series. After 11 issues, Mike Bullock took over the scripting. Bullock's stories often featured topical issues based upon actual African conflicts. In a 2007 three-part story arc, Invisible Children, the Phantom fights a warlord called Him, loosely based on Joseph Kony. Of course, there's an internet meme about that, and we won't even go into that here. A Ugandan militant who has founded the Lord's Resistance Army, LRA, a Christian fundamentalist organization designated as a terrorist group by the United Nations peacekeepers and the European Union and various other governments.
He was a bad dude, for sure. In 2009, Moonstone reintroduced the series as The Phantom, The Ghost Who Walks. And the aim here was to make the comic darker, grittier, and more realistic, similar to the 1930s stories by Lee Falk and Ray Moore. It updated the Phantom, giving him modern accessories, and introduced a number of supporting characters and villains. As a part of this modernization of the character, the Phantom began wearing a costume made of Kevlar. In the series, the Phantom fights reality-based enemies such as modern terrorists, organ smugglers, and Somali pirates.
Because he's against all piracy. And this is awful. I remember this. live action miniseries, The Phantom, was released on the Sci-Fi Channel, starring Ryan Carnes as the 22nd Phantom. Look at that costume, folks. Oh my God.
It was
Law,
a stinker.
yeah, law student and parkour tracer Chris Moore is shocked to learn that he was adopted and that he is actually the son of Phantom. Shortly afterward, Chris's adoptive parents are murdered by hired assassins of the Singh Brotherhood. He is sought out by the Jungle Patrol, which has evolved into an international covert intelligence and law enforcement agency headquartered in the jungles of Bengala. Now going by his birth name of Kit Walker, he begins training to become an expert in martial arts and combat to emerge as the 22nd Phantom to battle evil.
Bless their hearts. They tried. They really tried, but it was terrible. It was really awful.
Anchor, folks, skip this if at all possible. Now, if you're a glutton for punishment, Gojitron, go right ahead.
Yeah, you've been warned.
I guess.
It does get better though. This story was done by Dynamite Comics, and it's actually pretty good. Dynamite Entertainment introduced a monthly comic book series, The Last Phantom, in August of 2010, and the covers were painted by Alex Ross.
Beautiful covers. Beautiful covers. Yeah. You know, if it says Alex Ross on it, you know it's photorealistic, looking good. And going by the pictures over there on that other one, I'm just to get off on a tangent here. No blanks for eyes. If you remember Batman, you could see his eyes when Alex Ross did him too. So,
right.
The first story begins with no Phantom. The 21st Phantom was the last of that band. Kit Walker Jr. refused to take up the mantle as the masked crime fighter and is on a comfortable ride of life and family while handling the day-to-day affairs of the Walkabout Foundation, an organization created by one of the previous walkers to help support charities in Bengala and the surrounding nations of Africa. This volume of comic books explores Kit Walker Jr.'s course and whether he will continue to lead a comfortable life or his destiny bring him back to be the guardian of the Eastern Dark.
Yeah. So this kind of brought things back around to better a better storytelling than what sci-fi did. So, and this led into one of my favorite of the modern era, The King's Watch. This is also done by Dynamite. In 2013, the Phantom appeared in Dynamite's 5-issue miniseries, King's Watch. In this series, the Phantom joins Flash Gordon and Mandrake the Magician to fight Ming the Merciless and prevent his attempt.
Sounds familiar.
Yes, to take over the planet. It was definitely, they took everything from Defenders of the Earth and said, okay, how do we fix this? So they updated it for a modern age, and they did a really good job. It's a good story. And it was followed by a 2015 5-issue miniseries called King the Phantom, in which Lothar, as the new Phantom, looks for the rightful heir to the legacy. So, spoilers, folks.
Yeah, very interesting. I wasn't aware of this series either, but good Lord, I've got to catch up on my Phantom.
Yeah, this is highly recommended. It's well done, good artwork, good story, and it ties right into the next one, King's Quest.
In 2016, Dynamite started a new crossover of King features characters: the Phantom, Mandrake the Magician, Flash Gordon, Prince Valiant, and Jungle Jim. It's got some time travel hokery pokery must be going on there, timey-wimey.
Wibbly wobbly, indeed. So, fun ensued by all. But ultimately, the Phantom lives, folks. He's still ongoing. He's been in many different formats, whether it be the comic strips, the comic books, film, television. He's been everywhere, and he continues. And he'll probably get another iteration pretty soon.
Absolutely. He's the ghost who walks, a man who cannot die. Old jungle saying. And that
Yep.
brings us to the end of our presentation. And Lord have mercy, has the comment section been going wild, and I can't even keep up with what all got said over there. Uh, just the last few. I'm going up. I'm trying to see if Gojitron got started here. I see OBS said that Punisher skull looks like the Phantom skull. Salt Shaton's Hammer says, I only beg to recall that cartoon, but you can watch it free on YouTube. You must be talking about 2040.
2040 and Defenders of the Earth. There are episodes available, I believe, on YouTube and maybe Tubi as well.
Peter Chung also did Eon Flux for Liquid Television. Yes, Eon Flux is good. Now, I like the version that was on Liquid Television. The series they did was not as good as the Liquid Television little mini what was about 5-minute episodes that were strung together.
Right. They were trippy. They were kind of cool, but yeah, not much story.
Here we go. The good Phantom film and now the bad one. Like the sci-fi movie. Oh, that was awful. Miniseries. That weird sci-fi channel version. Yeah, that was pretty awful. Old-timey wrestlers loved some slippage. Yeah, I know what you're talking about there.
Oof.
Yeah, they intended to make that into a series, but it flopped real bad, and it should have.
It was almost as bad as the Flash Gordon sci-fi remake. Almost.
Well, here we have something interesting here now. RoboCop. RoboCop, they did a really, really awful TV series that is highly unrecommended, but there's a Canadian version called Prime Directives that was a series of 4 movies, if I'm not mistaken. That is highly sought after. If you can get your hands on that, that's good. Sorensen says that cover looks like a swipe of when Indy punches the guy in the propeller. Oof. Nice. I love those Moonstone books and then Dynamite Phantom books. Yeah, those are the good books, folks, and they're the expensive books too. And now we know where the CW got their no superhero costumes from. King Features was probably also guarding copyrights. Oh, King Features, they big on guarding their copyrights. Yeah. And yes, Prince Valiant was good. Go ahead there, Largo.
Oh, I'm just Dulcinea is chasing something right now.
Cat, probably. Yeah, everybody. Thank you, OBS. Yeah, we did great. Oh, what screw your feelings saying here? Going to look for the King series comics. They're out there. I've got them in digital copies that I got from somewhere. But they're good. They're just not as good as the Carlton ones. The Carlton ones and the ones by Gold Key. Now those are pretty good.
The Gold Key, especially the cover art, was really beautiful. A lot of those were painted covers, similar to what Alex Ross does, and they're worth picking up. Grindhead,
he's lurking. He's been a lurking. You're welcome there, Rolo. We aim to please. So yeah. Let's see. Salzburg says that Flash Gordon show was so bad.
It was terrible.
Yeah, I remember that too. We talked about that when we were researching this. Oh God, yeah. Jumbo Jim is Secret Squirrel. Where's Indeed. Will wants to know OBS. Well, Will's been having a pretty hard go of it here lately. Let's just say it. He's got work issues, and yeah, I'll leave it at that. So yeah, that kind of catches us up. And Johnny, of course, and not where is Will, but why?
Why is Will? Yes, indeed.
All right. OBS, I don't know if you're going to be able to join me tomorrow for the Sunday hangout, but I'm going to try to upload that new version of Drunken Sailor, and I'll play that tomorrow for you if you show up. If you don't, I won't bore everybody with it. But I liked it. I included my new Piper figure there in it, so and recut it, made it look a little better. It's just all around better. But we'll see that maybe tomorrow. Okay, I'll check that out when the show's over with there. That picture that you sent me there, Michael, I'll check it out. Just great show now.
The Flash Gordon show on Sci-Fi. No spaceships. What were they thinking? Rollo, I would say anything in the Golden Key era. There were only about 15 issues Golden Key did. They were all great. If you just want to get a catch up, any of the early Moonstone stuff, where they kind of renew the origin, kind of go over the story of the first Phantom and then go into the subsequents. You can't go wrong. You can pick up pretty much anywhere and it's all good.
Now,
mostly.
I also recommend the DC Comics miniseries, not the ongoing series that they tried to do after that. I didn't like that as much, but the Peter David did the story in that one miniseries. I think was it 12 issues?
I think it was a 12-issue miniseries. Yes, Peter David also did a great run on Aquaman about the same time, so he was pretty hot in the comics.
That's worth picking up. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep, that's one worth picking up. Well, guys, it's kind of to the end. Now, you're not going to be with me tomorrow, are you, Largo?
No, sir. I got to go see a man about a horse or some other critter of 4 legs. So I'll be busy, but I'll be here in spirit.
Okay. Well, we'll see you then. And anyway, let me play the Ducks for everybody real quick, and then we'll say bye as the Ducks are playing here. Yeah. Thank everybody for showing up. We appreciate y'all always. If you have anything to say about what we've covered today, if you have more information about the Phantom that we didn't cover, please go down in the comments and give me a comment down there on it. If you don't, please go down in the comments and say that it was a great show. If you didn't enjoy the show, please go down in the comments and tell me that you hated it. Whatever. Just go down in the comments and leave a comment. Even if it's just a big
or your recipe for pumpkin pie. Could always use a good recipe.
Absolutely. There we go. And other than that, let's just have a good journey, everybody, and we'll see y'all next time on Weird Fantastic Toy Adventures. Special thanks to these supporters on Patreon. Without your help, these adventures would not be possible. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed today's adventure, please hit like and subscribe and share the video.